this conversational session, we placed it right before the workshop of Academic Globalization because they are related. The basic purpose of the conversational session, not just this, but any other conversational session today, is to generate paper. Because we think, maybe we are wrong, but we think that conferences, in the conferences, the papers are done and brought to be presented. But we think that conferences should also generate papers. Not just, have presentation of papers, which is a necessary condition. But in our opinion, it's not sufficient condition. The conferences should somehow produce in some people at least one, the possibility of generating paper, especially on topics that the grants would not support financially. We found out that the grants, it's not easy to get support from the grant for interdisciplinary papers or cross-disciplinary topics based in interdisciplinary conversation. We found that, the hard way. I found that, 20 years ago, Professor Banati did just conversational session. All the conference that he did, in Austria and here in California was conversational one oriented to produce paper. So what we are attempting here is to integrate, to relate at least, this both conception of conferences, the traditional one to present paper, and the other one that are informal conversation oriented to produce in some of you some trigger, intellectual trigger, that can move him or her to write a paper. Since the grants usually would not support this kind of paper, this is why we told you in an email this paper will be invited paper, in the sense that no additional cost and no peer review. There will be a reflection-based papers, based on the flow of the information that is flowing in the conversational session. Okay? We are in love with this idea. Maybe we are wrong, but we are in love with this idea. So we are planning also to produce probably a publication just for interdisciplinary communication, if we have enough paper. If we don't have enough paper, the paper will be included in the post-conference volume of the proceedings that will be ready 2 months after the conference is over, and the invited paper will be, the deadline will be for 3 weeks after the conference is over. So that was an introduction to the conversational session of today. Now a short introduction to this conversational session, and after that we would prefer to facilitate your informal conversations. Is that we noticed, I'm going to present myself from the personal perspective just because it's part of it, okay? I was born in Syria. My father moved me to Venezuela when I was 10 years old. And then since then I lived hell between the culture of my father and the Venezuelan culture. When I use the word hell, it's not a hyperbole. It really was hell. because I love my dad. He's a wonderful dad. But I disagreed with him, in the 90% of what he wanted for us. So this is something that I lived since I was 10 years old. In the last 40 years, since I got in my PhD in operational research, which can be applied to every discipline. So I got in intellectual law with the systemic movement and the cybernetics. Both of them are interdisciplinary. So I got intellectual in law with all what it's interdisciplinary communication. Having these two personal experiences, I read a book that the professor here from UCF gave it to me as a gift on intercultural communication. And the more I read the book, that was 2 years ago, the more I found that the similarities and the analogy with interdisciplinary communication are huge. Because the shortest definition I have, here's all the definitions, for a discipline is an intellectual culture. So there is a lot of analogy between intellectual cultures and how they can communicate with each other, and the suffering communicating different disciplines, with how you communicate social and ethical cultures. So I always thought, maybe I'm wrong, we share this idea with several people here, that there could be strong analogies in both directions, from intercultural communication and interdisciplinary communication. And I was telling him this morning, half an hour ago, you cannot learn intercultural, but that's my opinion, okay, and my belief. Unjustified belief this between is not knowledge, okay? You cannot learn intercultural communication by book. You have to live it and suffer. The same way why you cannot learn to swim with a book. You have to get in the water and swallow water and get scared, and you have to suffer it. So this is why I appreciated, the more culture here possible, because the people who suffered the differences between culture, this experience, nothing in the books, this experience can produce a lot of books and a lot of articles. So this book as an article will not substitute intercultural communication, but in my opinion can accelerate it. And we are really needing that in the academic globalization that is the workshop of this right after now, right after this one. If we're not gonna get in global academic globalization, a necessary condition is to know how to deal with intercultural communication and interdisciplinary communication, because the topic is an interdisciplinary one. So both things, in my opinion, are required for academic globalization, which is the topic of the workshop after this conversational session. So this is the purpose of that. And after informing about the purpose, we would really like the maximum participation of all of you. and the possibility, if you got the time, I know that no one of us here have time. Someone would say you have always time. It does depend on your priorities. If we can produce some collaborative paper or papers or individual papers on the topic with this conversational session, even if it is related to the workshop this afternoon, that would mean that we were effective planning this conversational session. Because the purpose is to produce paper. The breakout session tomorrow and the plenary session is to receive what other has to say about what they did. The purpose here is the inverse situation, is to talk with each other around here, to share information and knowledge and experiences, to see if someone or some people in plural can get the trigger to write the reflection about what they heard here and what they experienced in their life regarding interdisciplinary communication, or regarding intercultural communication, or better, regarding both of them and the analogy between both of them. So I would like to stop here and ask all of you, please share as much as information as you can for the other people, to trigger, because any information of you that maybe is not important can trigger in him an idea that would take him, to make a reflection on this idea later. You see. So this is the purpose of this meeting.
I think I'll introduce myself, and then I suggest we go around the room and let everybody introduce themselves. I'm Stuart Umpleby. I recently retired from teaching at George Washington University. As a student, I worked in the Plato Laboratory. That's Programmed Logic for Automated Teaching Operations. It was a very advanced teaching computer system back in the 60s and 70s. And at one time I arranged academic meetings between American and Soviet scientists. This was when the Soviet Union still existed. And I frequently attended conferences in Austria. Carl Mueller arranged some of those conferences. So I have some international experience, and I have some experience in teaching information technology. And you can read more about me in the program. But I would like to know who's here. So I would suggest that we go around and everyone give your name and your location and any experience you've had with academic globalization. Like, did you get a degree online? Do you teach online? Have you developed software for online teaching? Have you written articles for Wikipedia? Or what is your experience with academic globalization?
May I add something about academic globalization, and if possible about intercultural communication? How much you suffered that?
I haven't suffered much. I enjoy a wide variety of food, and I like to visit peaceful, congenial places like Austria.
Hi, I'm Risa Blair, and I was reminded, because I do live in Miami, that I do live in the capital of Latin America. And it's true. So I'm constantly bombarded with different cultures all the time. My undergrad degree was comm. My master's was organizational behavior. My doctorate is instructional technology, distance education. I'll be doing some in this conference on differences and similarities between education and training. I think what's most interesting about the intercultural and the global communication is the experiences I've had working during my time at FedEx. I worked for Latin America and the Caribbean, needed to develop global training in multiple languages. Oh my goodness. such experiences between, you know, different countries who all spoke Spanish, and, you know, having to get to the point, how do you say click here? I mean, simple words and lack of agreement, and then having to really negotiate with all the groups and say, okay, can we all agree we're gonna do it this way? So something that simple that you would think would be, we call it a no-brainer, it's not. So what I said to Nagib was that there are extreme complexities with a language alone. And, you know, certainly my experience, I've been teaching online since 1996, and I've taught students from around the world, and certainly language and culture plays a huge role in all of those experiences in the courses I've facilitated. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Russell Handel, I'm a PhD in mathematics. I teach at Towson University, which recently became a Center of Actuarial Excellence. I also am very interested in hermeneutics on the Bible and Jewish studies. So in terms of international experience, all mathematicians are international and global. That's because mathematics, and I think music also, is like a global language, so is chess. So just last week, I was at a conference in Cannes, France. There may be 80, 90 people there, but they were from 20 or 30 countries, and you know, we all presented on, it was a conference on Fibonacci numbers, we all presented on these things, but the common language enables us all to get together and speak about various issues, and different people are doing different things. So it's the complement of what Risa said. There you're worried about translation, here you have a common language. Some people spoke in French or Italian there, but the point is I could understand the mathematical equations, not what they said about them, but I could understand them. My other field of interest, Jewish studies, is very interesting because the Bible's been around for 4,000 years and it's been commented on in all types of cultures and everything else. And when you sit down to do research on the Bible, on its meaning or anything else, the first thing you have to do is understand that different centuries and different lands had different perspectives because of their culture. So you could read commentaries from two different periods and they're totally different. And so those are just two things that help academic globalization, and that's my extent of interest in it.
Very much. Well, first of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Oleg Gretkin. I'm professor of Arabic and Islamic Studies from St. Petersburg, from Leningrad State University of Russia, from the kingdom far away. It took me a long way to get here, 19 hours altogether by flight. I'm teaching at the university from 1984, so it's quite a good experience. And what I have learned from my experience as a teacher or as a student, actually, that when you get knowledge of another language, you have to get it under your skin. You have to think and evaluate the reality within the system of coordinates as your counterpart. I participated in the body of joint Soviet-Yemeni joint mission in Hadramaut in South Yemen. It was long ago, not now. Don't be scared or afraid. And what I have learned, you have to be Roman if you go to Rome, as the Asian said. So you have to evaluate and have to have. I lived with next door to the Bedouins, not next door, the same tent actually. I lived in mosque, in a house of hospitality with the local people, and I have learned from them how to behave, how to respect the values of the people you are talking with, you live with. As for my fields of interest, so actually I was initially. It's a long story, it was long ago, it's untrue. But now I'm interested also in the interdisciplinary studies. First of all, how to apply another methods of analysis from another well, sciences like chemistry, even chemistry, or statistics, mathematics, how to apply even when you analyze huge amounts of material. Texts. Actually, we academicians rely on texts, ancient or modern texts, and we fruitfully, I would say, cooperate with our partners from another department, Department of Mathematics at the same university. Since 2005, we have developed several software products, and now we are working on a certain project of recognizing, not a character recognition, but recognizing the authorship of documents, of manuscripts, especially manuscripts. It was a very interesting story that one of these manuscripts by Umpleby, the philosophy, medieval philosophy, was found at the University of Michigan, and they were not sure if it's real one. And we found out due to this analysis that it's real one. It's his authorship. So I would say that I'd better tell something in details on the 8th of July, not something waste your time. And I give my panel, this panel, to my colleague over there from the same department. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very glad to be here again for the second year in a row. Professor Lekrekin has already told you a lot about our main occupation, but I would like to add that the present-day knowledge probably is impossible today without interdisciplinarity, and the fact that our basic occupation is dedicated to the research of the Arabic language. It is the fact that it is the intercultural at the same time, as well as it is the interdisciplinary approach in its essence. So we got experience in communication with mathematicians for about probably 15 years or something like that. We developed several e-learning courses in Arabic. So we know the difference between different kinds of e-learning platforms, for example, Sakai and IBM workplace collaborative learning. There is a huge difference between these systems in terms to Arabic. So there are a lot of topics which we can discuss here dedicated to interdisciplinarity in all kinds of science problems. So thank you very much. We've got probably 3 or 4 presentations during these events, and all of them are dedicated to the interdisciplinarity in terms of Arabic.
I'm the Karl Müller, which Stuart Umpleby already referred, so you know I'm from Austria. And instead of introducing myself, I just want to point out one special aspect. I think we all should be tremendously grateful to Nagib that he made this possible to organize this group and to give us an opportunity to tell about our problems, day-to-day problems, frustrations, and so on. Because at the same time, as we stress the importance of intercultural communication, interdisciplinary communication, there's a growing pressure also in terms of disciplinary things at the universities. Whenever you write a resume and say, look, I have worked in 8 different fields, and the department says, wonderful, that's too much. I would ask all of us, including me, to come up with some interesting article presentations and so on, so that we can create something fruitful out of this exercise to which Nagib created for us. And I would also use this important notion of soft infrastructures. That's a soft infrastructure, and we should do something with it.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Coca-Cola. I'm a Zimbabwean national, and I'm resident in South Africa. I'm permanently resident in South Africa. I lecture at Northwest University in South Africa in the Department of Information Systems. Well, how have I suffered the intercultural experiences? Well, my first qualification, I did it in Cuba, and that was in physics and astronomy. Already, I grew up in the Cuban culture, so I was there for 5 years before I graduated and went back home to Zimbabwe, where I did, of course, my master's in computer science, well, which means I migrated from physics and astronomy to computer science. That's already interdisciplinary. And I see physics, as I did it, speaks very much to IT and computer science. So for me, it was just like the same thing. So there's quite a strong relationship and intrinsic relationship between the two, especially the mathematical part. And I'm right now finishing my PhD with the university where I'm lecturing in information systems. That so far is my my academic trajectory has been. Being in Zimbabwe and staying in South Africa, that's quite intercultural. And our university has got many students from across the globe, and especially from across Southern African Development Community SADC, which is the Southern African countries in Africa. And so we have to negotiate our terrain very cautiously, and sometimes we have to understand that we come from different backgrounds and different countries as a university. So that exposure, I've had it even from my first degree, like I explained. So yeah, that's so far as my experience is concerned. My personal interest is basically in the transcendental conditions of research, the philosophical aspects. I see a lot of intercultural relationships there, but well, maybe that's a discussion for another day. Thank you so much.
I got a question for you, if possible. When you say intercultural situation or communication, are you referring to multicultural or real intercultural? Because in Europe, what we got is my opinion again. So this place is for opinion. It's multiculturalism. And what we got here in the States is less multiculturalism and inter, because people somehow, the percentage of assimilated people for some reason is more. Maybe I'm wrong again. I don't have hard data to support what I'm saying. It's just what I saw. So this is the question that I'm trying to mean, because I think it's essential also to this conversation. The differentiation between multiculturalism, mostly in Europe, and more interculturalism, mostly in the States. So this is why I'm asking this question for your country, how you feel it.
Well, in South Africa, I think there's both multiculturalism and interculturalism.
Okay.
Yeah, for various reasons. Because I would take it as multiculturalism. I take it as the presence of different cultures in one instance. And interculturalism maybe is the ability to identify with different cultures at the same time. So in South Africa, we have got a mixture of the two, I should say. Where I think we are more on multiculturalism than interculturalism.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Jan Lube. I'm from electrical engineer from Germany, and I'm a PhD student at the University of Hanover there. Well, I would say I do not have much experience regarding academic globalization. Yeah, I'm teaching there some students, and we have a lot of international students, so maybe you could say that's some experience in that discipline, but that's it.
I'm Schmidt Kubiak. I'm a software engineer by training, an electrical engineer, but I switched into software about 45 years ago. I guess I have limited international experience. I've done some teaching, limited teaching and consulting in Europe and Asia and Latin America on a commercial basis. I've taught graduate courses at Washington University for about 8 years. the only interesting multicultural experience I could give you is that I discovered that in Latin America, in particular, that when people are fully bilingual, which I am far from, a very limited tolerance for my attempts to speak Spanish, and they're surreptitiously looking at their watches and suggesting that we don't have all day, so we're going to speak English. I actually did find at least one place where I could get away with speaking Spanish.
Good morning, I'm Schmidt Kubiak, and I'm a professor of educational leadership at Argosy University in Atlanta. I am a product of the first generation American, and my mom was from Luxembourg, my dad was from Czech, and so I have intercultural, multicultural, and then I have here my colleague who started in Nigeria, and so we have intercultural experiences as colleagues, and we certainly appreciate the richness that all of us bring to whatever experiences we're doing. And our interests right now are in being able to help our students. We teach graduate level students, mostly doctoral level students, and we do cross-disciplinary courses because I teach some writing courses that do all across the disciplines, and she teaches research, so it's all across the disciplines. So our big interest is how we can be successful teachers, professors, instructors across the disciplines so that our students feel very comfortable and get rid of their anxieties, and that we can keep our graduate students in place and not lose that brain power. Because in the US, we're finishing about 57% finish their programs. Now those are well-qualified students who can definitely complete their program. But for some reason, it doesn't matter what discipline, they don't finish. We don't want to lose that brain power. We want to be able to make it so that all students can find success, because they have that success when they get there. They're capable. They are all capable. So anyway, we have lots to talk about.
Like she said, my name is Victoria Nanzara, originally from Nigeria. So I immigrated here 9 years ago, 2006. And like he said, when I came in, there was this cultural shock, because that was the first time I went to the store, Macy's store. I think the ladies will know. I went there, I wanted a luggage box, but I went there, I said I want a box, because that's what we call it back in Nigeria. So the lady went and got me the box, American box, the box for packing. Then I knew, I didn't say nothing. I said, thank you. She was so excited giving me, oh, do you want to box some things? I said, yes. But that's not what I wanted. So I knew this was wrong. I said, okay, let me walk around the store. And when I see, then I pick it. Then I walked around the store, I picked. Then I went to the store. I said, okay, so you guys call this luggage? I said, yes. I said, okay, back home in Nigeria, we call it box. And that's why you gave me this. And you can see the cultural difference there. It's so different, here and back home, because what we call things back home is completely different in America. And that's what we have. Some of our students, even when they come in, because I'm mentoring some kids now, sometimes I volunteer to go to schools system. Back in Africa, when you are speaking to a child as an adult, the child must not look into your eye. The child needs to look down. That shows a sign of respect. Here in America, when a child looks down, it's like the child is guilty, which is wrong. So I have to go to some schools and say, look, this is what it is. When a child is looking down, coming from Nigeria or Africa, know that that is a respect. And don't penalize the child and conclude that the child is what? Guilty. And they appreciated that, because we have so much cultural differences that unless you know about that culture, you will not know how to treat the child. And the child, because we found out that the children from Nigeria, Africa, they go to school. After 1 week, they don't want to go back again. Not because they don't want to learn, but because the teachers do not understand the culture, and so the way they treat them is completely different. And so those are some of the things. And like you said, I'm all about research. I teach statistics, I teach research, and I teach it to all disciplines. We have pastoral counseling, organizational leadership, counseling itself, then we have education and business. Within my class, we have different disciplines, but then each of these disciplines comes with its own culture. Some can persevere. I have students who will cry in the class because of the statistics. I have students who will walk out and just drop the class. So I have to design things to make everybody comfortable and to release the anxiety, because we have different cultures, different disciplines, and these are some of the things we are going about to teach. You know, these classes can be difficult, can be anxiety-laden, but there are things that can be done, you know, to help. And because we have people with different cultures, we have Africans even in my class, people from different states, you know. And so these are some of the things that I've learned here in my 9 years. That every day, what can I do, you know, to improve people's life, especially from different cultures and from different disciplines? How can I approach my teaching so that people can be anxiety-free and I can create a positive environment? Because I have suffered it even as an adult coming into America. I know how much I've suffered because of some of the cultures that I brought in, but it's not the same right here in America. So.
A question.
Yes.
Have you noticed any help from your intercultural or multicultural, you know, experience? Had that helped you in the interdisciplinary communication you wanted to have among your students?
Yes, you know, like, for instance, even within my students, I try to use them to receive help. You know, for instance, when I'm teaching such classes, rather than providing examples, I just show a blank picture. And I tell them, this is a picture, tell me about this picture. And as soon as they are telling me about the pictures, each discipline will tell you different things. And whatever they tell you aligns to their discipline and also aligns to their interest. Then I ask them, okay, tell me a research study that can be conducted through this.
So you are generating communicational means that are in no discipline alone.
Yes, exactly. So that has really helped me, and it has actually propelled me throughout. And I find it easier now. Now I can smile in my classroom.
Thank you.
I'm Doug Sparks. I'm from the University of Waterloo in Ontario, Canada, which is over 30 years old. Honestly, I hadn't really thought much about this before in this conversation, and it's kind of interesting because when I look at around where I live, it's very multicultural. It's you can find people from just about any country in the world around my neighborhood. My wife is German, so my kids speak English, French, and German. They're fluent in it. And culturally, French is part of the Canadian culture, and so we learn it in school. It's just the second language of the country. So it's sort of embedded in sort of how we act, I think. When I think of in terms of university, again, my classes tend to be very multicultural. Any given year, probably over 50% of my class are international students. They're coming from, or first-generation Canadians or immigrants. So it's multilingual, multicultural in the classroom. And then in my sort of job aspect of university, I live in the interface between engineering and business, which is very cross-cultural, interdisciplinary, and different cultures completely. So I have to mull this around a bit. I haven't really thought about it.
Have you suffered the different disciplines between engineering and business?
Say it again?
Have you suffered
No.
The word is software between
No.
engineering and business.
No, I've learned to be a diplomat and a translator.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. I am Sri Samantraj. I am professor in computer engineering at College of Technology in India. And if we talk of India, India itself is a multicultural country. And just to give some data, it's more than 25 languages, 1600 dialects. And it is, we ourselves are basically have a challenge how we can have a interdisciplinary, inter-language translation even for our documents and courses. We at our country also are having one Indian language technology program, IT, which is basically focusing on machine translation of Indian languages. And again, when we go for multi-language translation, the same sentence may have many parts, many interpretations like Shikto. In Bengali, we say bhajan means praying, while in Hindi, bhajan means eating. So there is a joke that please come to my home for a bhojan. So the fellow went with an empty stomach, that expecting that he will give me some food. But when we reached there, it was basically prayer, and he said, please sit there and give the prayer. So similar many examples are there when we have translations, and so there are many situations where we have a lot of material, documents and resources in different languages and internationally as well, but we are not having access to this even in Google search, because multi-languages translation and pumping from different languages documents on a single e-search is still not very successfully available. So if anything is available in German, does our students are accessing those when they are having search, is basically we are working on that as well.
Would you say that this multilingual situation inside India probably helped the Indian to be more adaptable to other culture outside of India?
That's correct. Because
there is a misperception that people from India are more adaptable.
What has accepted India as a global group, from in Nalanda University, she is my wife in professor in electrical engineering, and we are one of the examples because she is from Punjabi culture, I am from Orissa, in total Bengali culture, Oriya culture. So still we are making students learn more in the good culture as well as taking advantage of both the basic fundamentals. I think Nalanda is 4,000 years back. It is the first university of the world, they claim it. International university.
I just had a quick question. All of my friends from India speak English. In India, from your experience, does the English language serve to unite everybody and bring everyone together versus the 1,600 dialects serve to divide everyone?
No, basically around 26 official languages are there. But English is the most popular language of communication as far as academics is concerned. Even in normal day-to-day life, English is not very easily acceptable because most of the masses talk in their regional languages. Even if we visit to any place, we have to be more conversant with what are their regional languages. But since English has been an international language accepted globally, so now people are fascinated. Schools are pushing English as one of the languages, but now every school is supposed to go for one regional language. Because if we see culturally, Indian theme is on conversation through language only. The Gita was basically, you can say, education to by Lord Krishna to Arjun was totally by mouth, without any text. Then, when British people came, they had first instance of in documenting the Gita. And Gita says, whatsoever is in the world is inside it. What is not in this Gita is nowhere else. So that is the biggest claim. And every interpretation of each line gives different understanding. As we will share in our pragmatic level thinking, learning by examples, when we contextual learning, the main line of Gita is that please do your work, leave everything on the God. And many times the same sentence gives console to a person when he is on depression or when he is in difficulty. Frustrated people, if you say, please do your work, you have come to do your work, and whatever is coming, it is good. This gives a lot of console, but if I say this, just go through text, it may not be very effective. But by experience, these lines have become changes. Even Facebook, Zuckerberg has just visited India to go to the saint, the temple, from where he got just in console that when he was in troubled time. And this Facebook concept has come with the fact that it is a globalization, and the person who gave him the fact that you can take advantage by linking people, communicating with people and making it a single resource, has given Zuckerberg a console and concept that, okay, let me think of globalization. So that was the beauty of Indian culture, and we are working on the same situation on the global scenario, because the bottom line of Indian culture is Vasudev Kutumbakam. The whole world is a single family. And as last line, I will say, within the university, we have a different culture as an academic culture, with the fact that we are one of the university, which basically is an agriculture university, just like University of Illinois at Champaign. Our mentor university was there. We are in engineering, and it is an agriculture university. So in interdisciplinary work, academic work is also very important. And in order to promote interdisciplinary research, and interdisciplinary communication is the first thing. So that how we can capitalize the complementary capabilities. So that is also a very great thing, important thing. So from our university, I have learned that in order to do some interdisciplinary research, what are the challenges, how we can come together. Those are something, it's a learning human mind, communicating with different type of research contradictions. So I think that is all.
Does the polytheism in India contribute to the globalization, since everyone has their own religion and may have different conceptions of God, and people learn to respect people early?
Yes, sir.
Good morning. Me and my colleague, we are representing a small Baltic country, Latvia. So small that speaking about our country with foreigners, I have to explain where we are, and we are between Lithuania and Estonia, but it is nothing for our person with whom we are communicating. And then I asked them, do you know Finland? Yes. Do you know that Helsinki is capital city of Finland? Yes. But 45 minutes by flight, it is our country. So, but nevertheless, that we are so small, in our participation in this conference is on third or fourth place in the rating of the articles. And we are representing technical university. It means that it's a multidisciplinary university. But speaking about interdisciplinarity, of course, we are interdisciplinary because we are representing Faculty of Engineering, Economics and Management. Yes, and historically we collaborated with all technical faculties, and now it is a very hot topic in collaboration within faculties.
Maybe some American universities should learn how you did it.
Maybe in other station, because I have to give possibility to speak to another colleagues. But speaking about interdisciplinary, I am the director of master program Business Finance. And as a director of program, I have to arrange effective learning environments for all teachers to prepare specialists. And we deliver our program for foreign students. In our group are students from India, from Sri Lanka, from Nigeria, from former Soviet countries, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Ukraine, and to arrange a study process, I have to collaborate with all teachers involved in the program and help them to provide content which is needed to realize that program. And of course we have to take into account cultural differences of our students to make process more efficient. And about intercultural issues, I was born by my Russian parents, but I was born in Latvia. My colleague was born by her Latvian parents, and we don't have any problems in communication. My colleague is my former doctoral student. Now she is associated professor and my colleague. And if